to start the recording. We're making the recording available if you would like to get a copy of this, or at any point you can't be with us and you want to have a copy of it, just let us know. We charge $10 for the work to get it to you, and we're very happy to share the blessings and share the teachings. So here we are. Again, I would like to just give us a little bit of where we've been and where we're going, yeah? So that the focus that got very, very strong for all of us was the sense that we had to learn at a very, very deep level how to be present and how to maintain a sense of presence within the heart. So when we were playing with this, we were, it's like sometimes a roll the dice kind of experience here as to whether I'm present or whether I'm just caught in some kind of reaction, some kind of conditioning, some kind of old way to be. And it's like the good news was we started being able to tell the difference. That was good. And so that within that, there's this sense of us recognizing in that sense of presence, it's like, where is our energy? So when the work was introduced to us, it was pointed out very clearly that if we were going to become more present, if we were going to be able to stay conscious within our own spiritual dimension, within the power of the strength of our own heart, if we were going to do this, we needed more power. And I remember presenting this at some points, and all of us just sort of went into the kind of a helpless victim look and went, oh, well. And then we said, okay, so is there no power? Are we just, basically little reactive automatons? And we made some great little discoveries. We found our power. And where we found it was in our safety mechanisms, in the way that we protect ourselves from perceived harm, in the way that we would keep our essence safe. Right? Check in a moment and see where you are with that one. If you were going to look and say, okay, 1 to 10, what is the measure of my safety system right now? If my safety alarm was on, how loud is my alarm going to be when it goes off? Is the whole neighborhood going to hear it? Or is it going to be like a little beep on the phone? So check in, 1 to 10, 10 being your loudest. Where is your safety system right now? Where's your power? Where's your energy in that? So when I started on this one, and I was riding on a 10, my sirens were louder than when they put a hurricane warning here on the islands. I was serious about being safe and protected. So that meant that all my energy, my perception in a safety system is looking for the threat, right? Looking for what it is out there that's going to get me. Now, I don't know what it is about my awareness. I think I am part of the collective, but this whole process of safety and safety systems has gotten so big and blown up. Our whole world is studying this process right now of what does it take to be safe? And where is it that you feel safe? And where is it that you don't? So when we came to this idea of safety systems and we said, okay, so that's where all our power is in these safety systems. And most everyone at that time, it may have changed now, but at that time, this was a couple of years ago, that it was like pretty much that's where people perceived they would be protective. There's a sense of making sure that they were safe, all these different kinds of rules that come up. We get to see what it looks like now when governments pick up the chore of keeping you safe and what that looks like. And even some of the ways that we might have been too aggressive, too barbaric in our own psyche are being mirrored back to us now, as far as I can see. You get to learn what you get to learn. So when I came to the sense that I needed power, And I had to go and say, okay, so it's in my perception that's trying to keep me safe. I need this power to feed my presence. And the more we brought this power to feed our presence, the stronger we started recognizing that our presence, feel it? Our presence lives in our hearts. And when I would come to this in the beginning in rare occasion and more then accustomed to having this kind of vulnerability in my body, to have a deep sense of trust within my own intuition, things that the heart provide naturally. As I came more and more to this, I recognized that this was a state that I didn't know very well. I had talked about it, I had studied it with the best of them, but I didn't really know the level of connection of being in the heart's dimension. And that's when we started our last work. That's where we picked it up, around the sense of leading from the heart, working in the heart booster, being able we did a beautiful class on the 6 points of the heart, saying that each point was a principle that had to be active in order for the heart's dimension to stay grounded and clear. So let's review that just a little bit, because I live in this every day and you guys may not get quite that opportunity. So we started with we started with compassion above the head, right? So here we are in the power of compassion. We honored that central pillar. We brought it straight down into grounded presence, right? Into that power of grounded presence. We honored this as the movement of our spine and our spinal fluids moving up into this space of compassion and bringing it down into that power of grounded presence. The more that we were able to actually experience this, the more this power of compassion started to energetically fill our field with a softer, warmer touch of being yourself. The real high sword criticisms, anger reactions started to soften. You started hearing your treatment in the way that you were with your own nature. In the powers of compassion, we addressed the karma melter, which said that you are going to ground this power of energy, especially your reactions. You're going to ground this power through your own being, rather than projecting it out that the reason you feel, the reason you are the way you are is because of something that lives outside of you. Then we started to address truth and love, right? Truth and love. We said the two wings of the heart, these two powerful wings, that if we're only in one or the other, we will not know the heart's dimension. We'll live in some kind of fantasy, and we'll live in a certain kind of hardness if we're exaggerated in truth and there is no love. We acknowledge that truth, in order for it to be within my awareness, grounds into acceptance. Truth grounds into acceptance. That's that lower line. You'll just take a look at the star when you're getting towards the end of this. It's on our website. It's like that, this powerful sense of acceptance. When I can fully accept, I ground the power of truth. The truth holds all the influences that are affecting me in consciousness at any given moment. Wow, how conscious can I be of all the influences that are affecting me every single moment? How do I become conscious of that? By accepting. What does that do? It opens a whole new space of receptivity and connection. In my acceptance, I am not for or against. I'm simply acknowledging it's here. Love grounds itself into the deep receptive. Love is an aspect of the deep receptive. We addressed it as gratitude. And for many of us, we had to redefine what this was as a principle, because we thought gratitude was being able to give to someone else that sense of appreciation and connection for what's being given. And in this principle of gratitude, it opened the deep receptive. It started making sense why gratitude was probably one of the stronger principles that is used for manifesting. So if you're grateful for something, that means you open your deep receptive, your magnetism gets stronger, and hey, you get more. You join the Yum Yum Club. So that we have these three dynamics pillars. We have this power of truth that goes to acceptance, compassion that comes into grounded presence, this strength of love that anchors itself into gratitude. And so we spent our summer developing these 6 points as principles, as energetics. We had to be with each of them as an energy field. That there was a lovely group of us that got to study together through the Heart Booster class. And it was absolutely, totally transforming. It certainly was for me, and I heard it from others. It was just that it was a deal changer. And in the end of it, we came to a real deep sense of being able to recognize the real depth of purity that lives in our hearts. Now, my experience is that when we're doing our work, this has always been true for me, that I don't go over to some little corner and dream it up and go, wow, this is it. I have a tendency to lean into energetic influences that are coming down from the larger forces that be, and start to articulate that and that power into the sense of how we can learn. So it's like grabbing the astrological aspect of the day and integrating it on a deeper level. The good news of that is that it gives us a much richer and deeper experience of what we're learning. You are doing the same thing by being able to have a sense of taking this larger sense of connection and allowing yourself to see what you're learning. So what was the point when we came and said, we have to do this? What was the point? To build our presence, to strengthen our nervous system so we can stay conscious within what we call a spiritual dimension, where it isn't just some kind of concept or idea that floats around as something that I would love to have, but more the sense that it is the texture and the quality of consciousness. It is in me. It is affecting the way I perceive and experience the universe. So that when we're coming together now, that pretty much you get a core of people who can hold a certain power, and then you expand from there. We're the core. And it's like within that, we come and say, okay, so what's the next step now? Is that we have to now integrate the strength of our potential, the power of our being in consciousness. It's that we can keep allowing it to build. And in this allowing space to build, we become more aware. And so that the process of light and shadow are basically our seed beds that we're working with to develop this stronger ability to stay conscious. That it's often in your light that you'll know your spirit best. Most of the time when someone comes to me, we start talking of their work and their service. And I'm speaking to someone who is fully realized and connected within that capacity to the best of their ability. They're present, they're there. Then we come to a deeper sense of personal aspects and personal relationships. We find certain kinds of gaps where maybe some part of you didn't have the ability to address, didn't have the ability to grow. So this seed laid fallow. So what the universe is doing right now is allowing us to see what's happening within our presence, to see where we want to go and what we want to do in consciousness. And for those of you that write things down, write this one down. It's like, what do you plug into? What do you plug into? It's an important question to know. What do you plug into? So we said, well, let's see, we just kind of go back to where we've been studying before. When we were in our safety systems, we plugged into some pretty strong protective walls to keep us safe. We insisted that they had to be there. We didn't trust our presence could live on its own without a certain kind of guarded protectiveness. So we plugged into safety systems that allowed us to stay invisible. Okay? You know, it's everywhere you are, you're gonna learn something. That's as far as I can tell. And it's like from that place, it's like for me, that when I was in the space where my energy was in that protection place, and I start getting more and more conscious of this protection place, after a while it felt like, Jesus, this is like wearing a girdle. I mean, my energy would be so claustrophobic and connected in the need to keep me safe. It's like they locked me up in a teeny little room. Is it sounding familiar? It's like, so here we are in a space that was going, okay, so that because there is a space that we have to do it in consciousness first, all of us are being asked to open to our presence in a very clear and grounded way. And so we need to know where it is that you may still be afraid of yourself, where it is that you look for others to generate that sense of safety and connection, where it is that you may look to others to be your intuition for you. We just need to know. And we have to know this. This is the hard part, really, is we have to know this without making it right or wrong. We have to know this by being able to sit with whatever is in front of us and recognize what our power is doing in the moment. We're going to have to get mightily curious about our own consciousness. And so from an astrological take, friends of mine spend a lot of time in that world come and say, wow, this thing with light and shadow is going to get really, really big for this fall time. I thought, all right, isn't that exciting? So that if there's parts of your nature that are ready to be coming into the light of day, the curtain is opening and we're ready to roll. So that the energy I wanted to address today, so maybe to finish that thought, is like what we're going to be doing here in the next, in our autumn season, is exploring these potentials and these powers. We're going to keep Free Friday going because we think it's really essential that we stay together and we do that, as well as we're going to be doing a workshop September 11th, next week, September 11th through the 13th. We're going to do a workshop on light and shadow, and we're also going to run a class. So if you want to go deeper and you want to have a stronger experience of what we're doing, you have opportunity to join us if you wish. That when in the sense of where we're standing now, we want to get you comfortable with understanding where your power lies and what is your experience of being safe. And I want to bring safety forward because I have never had more well-wishers tell me to be safe, be safe, be safe. It's like, okay, I don't know what to do with it. Like, am I unsafe? Is there something out there that's going to get me any old minute? Is there going to be some fella walking down the street and breathe on me the wrong direction and we're going to be in trouble? Who knows? We're just like, basically, where is it that my safety system lies? So as far as I could tell, my safety system would be active and very, very good to tell me if I ever was in any level of danger. If Mr. Jock running down the street is exuding his whatever he does, and I would be not the time to walk outside. Does every person I see do this? Where's my intuition in all of this, right? So that the key that I come to around my sense of safety is to be able to get a clear readout around my fear. Because there is so much propagation of fear right now as a way of keeping you safe. It's normalized in consciousness. And what do we do when we're fearful? What happens? Well, let's see if we get a little, I can't generate much fear here for you guys, I'm sorry. It's like, I don't have it in me today, man. I could like boogeyman, whatever it is, right? But it's like there's a sense of, you know, where is it, right? So that there's this question every time I brought it to people around the sense that is it, are we supposed to be afraid all the time? Are we supposed to always be in this huge, this little container, in this containment place? How are we supposed to be dealing with this? I guess there's an assumption of ignorance that says you're not really ever going to know whether you're in danger or not, so we have to take care of you. One person told me that's why they wrote the 10 Commandments, is because you couldn't figure out right from wrong and good from bad, and so that we had to have some real clear, dynamic statement that says this is how you basically align to go to heaven. So here we are in this aspect of safety. We're going to have to keep having a little humor about it, okay? Because there's this foreboding violin that sits in the background that's, you know, okay. And I was like, all right. It's like, and so that what I'm asking you to be able to do is know what your range of consciousness is around your fear. Do you know when you're in danger? Do you know when there's trouble lurking in the environment? Does your body signal it to you? You know, I don't know if you've studied nature very much, but right before there's going to be an earthquake, if you live in snake country, the snakes burrow way down into the earth. Question, what happens to the birds when they have a sense that the hurricane is coming? They fly into nature and they find themselves places to nestle. There is nothing that we could come to as far as the instincts of nature in our natural world that doesn't know ahead of time when massive change is coming. You all heard of the stories of the elephants when there was like in Thailand, and the elephants knew that these huge tsunami energetics, how they knew, I don't know, but they broke their chains, and these elephants were trained to stay with their master, and they broke their chains and they went up country. And as soon as all the waters passed, they came back down to find their masters to help them and to get them out from underneath the logs. The question I had in some of this is, well, where's mine? Does my body know when I'm in danger? Can it signal me? Or am I just too complicated? If I got too many things going on, so I can't know if I'm in danger or not. And that's where it gets very, very confusing. And that's the beauty of this time, is because we're being asked to sort it out and come back to our presence and be able to trust the sense of this depth of knowing. And so within that, I am not asking anyone to be reckless or to do anything that you don't feel is right for you. I think we have to really honor whatever our rules are that says it makes me safe in a day. That would be following your intuition. At the same point, how much energy? Remember when I asked you, how much energy is in your safety system? And does it need to be that much? So that here's the degree that was shared with me, that is like my presence, if my presence is strong, my safety systems live on a different level. I just know if I'm in trouble. I know if I'm having a problem. Me and the snakes head for the deep water and we're okay. It's like, so that it's like if I'm not present, then these safety systems have to be. So I don't want you to think of them as anything that's wrong or bad. I simply want you to address that this is an issue of presence. And if you want to be sense that I want to lower the level of fear in my body, that means you must increase the power and the value of your presence. Where does this presence live? In your heart. Absolutely and totally in your heart space. In this grounded presence, in this depth of compassion, in the ability to know when truth is being spoken, in the ability to have a softer, warmer approach to letting somebody be themselves, whoever they are, to accepting the levels of influence and connections that are around you so you're not in resistance or running away or trying to hide from something. And opening that depth of receptivity so all your needs are met. All your needs are met. So that in this aspect of light and shadow, it's going to show itself, whether you're with me or whether we're in some other kind of belief systems and things like that, you're going to have the space will be shown to you. What is this degree of consciousness? The whole idea of it, as far as I can see, is to speed up your evolution. They give you a little oomph, shall we say, so that you get much more serious about wanting your presence to be the strongest force of consciousness that lives within you. It may be our uncomfortableness, really, that gets us moving best of all. So take a breath. Fear is your friend. Fear is your friend. It's here to protect you and keep you safe. The fear is not our problem. It's just doing its job. Fear is your friend. Now, open to your presence. Let's open to your presence. And let's listen to what your heart thinks. It's going to tell you is the most important thing for you to concentrate on around this space of being safe. What is the most important quality? Right, so that if we're saying here's this power of fear, and we want to be able to penetrate the power of this so it becomes skillful, so that the energy of that I use for this sense of protective fear will be the energy that fuels my intuition, that lets me know exactly what I need to know any given moment to move in the world in a graceful way. Same power, different plug-in. Take a breath. Okay. Let's stand up for a minute and wiggle it around. Then I want to give you something to kind of chew on, and then we're going to do something else. Okay, standing up. I get glued to the chair after a while, I'll tell you. Okay, so let's do our salutation to power, to take our energy and put our hands right on our solar plexus, and let's embrace our power energetically. Some of you are a little tired. You can feel it. Don't fight it. Just be willing to acknowledge the tiredness. The more that our energy body is in tiredness, often the easier it is to go into reaction unless we surrender to the tiredness and allow the deep receptive to open. So we open deep receptive. If you are tired, open deep receptive. And just allow a nice, clear, clean energy to come pouring through you. Let the universe take care of you here for a moment. So we're going to have this sense of this power, this generating influence. We're going to move it down. So we're just going to feel it opening in the right through our hips. For those of you that are now in deep receptive, you're going to open in your hip joints. You're going to open the energy and receive more life force all the way into your legs. Keep relaxing into it. If you're on the other side and your energy is spinning and it's really strong and there's a real feeling of, could be almost anxious or uncomfortable, we want to take that energy and kind of ground the electricity. You feel it moving. Okay, so once we have a nice energetic read right in the base of the spine, we're going to stimulate this. We're going to be willing to acknowledge the power right in the base of the spine, and we're going to invite it as upward flow to come all the way up through the back of the neck. This was going on with me all night long. It was so cute. I get twing, twink, twing, twink all night long. It was just basically building the energetic, widening the channel, and opening it up. After about 10 little big twicks, I had to ground the whole thing out. So now we're feeling the energy right in the back of the neck. Let it open. Let it open. Feeling the energy rise, keep it moving as it's coming up and over the head. And we're just going to invite this energetic field of the heart's dimension, combing it with our fingers. It's already here. We're just acknowledging it with the presence of our hands. Allowing it to move all the way down, feeling it operating all the way through the earth, and then drawing it from earth all the way back up. Up and over the head. Feel the energy now expanding and opening. All the way down. Use your fingers. Let your fingers be really conscious that you are combing the energetic field in the heart's dimension. One more time, we're going to bring the energy up. And allowing the energy again just to become connected and conscious. And then we just let her come and rest right into the heart space. So check your safety system now. So this gives us permission that if we feel the sense that we need to be safe, we would think of this as a safety field. And so if we needed to be safe, we would be calling for this field. I'm a woman with rich experience around this one. Take a nice big breath. And when you're ready, let's sit down. I'm gonna tell you a story. So I've had a very rich relationship with fear. My mom talked about it when I was little. She said I would be standing in the middle of the barnyard screaming my head off because a chicken was walking by. She couldn't understand why I was so afraid all the time. But boy, my reaction was fear. I feel like I was afraid before I even got here. One of the images that I had a rather intense and abusive father, I remember us like being in utero and seeing this black energetic coming towards to harm. Figured it out. That was dad in his anger coming to make sure my mom was behaving the way she needed to, so to speak. So I had these imprints. I have to accept them, that basically created me in a need to be invisible, a need to hide. So, you know, I was like, when Harry Potter came out with his invisibility cloak, I went, hey man, I got that one down. You know, it's like, I know how to do that. When I was doing that one since before I even got here, right? I knew how to be invisible. I knew how to disappear. And all the time there was this intense level of awareness of how I could be judged, how I could be basically harmed, made fun of, humiliated. All of these were in my hypervigilant field for as early on as I can remember. And it wasn't because I made them up. It's just because that was the nature of the family I was growing up in. That's how we communicated. And so that when I decided that this level of fear was in me, right? Because you can be so afraid and so into these spaces that you don't even know you are. I mean, that was my norm. Everybody else I saw, it's kind of the same way. So it's like there might be a moment of ease or a sort of connection before the hypervigilance would come back up again. So in other words, I lived in fear fields, and that was my norm. So when somebody would say, don't be afraid, you know, water over a duck, you know, or it's like, didn't register. So that the good news that I have in my life is I'm a very curious being. And I then decided that since I didn't seem to have any ability to get rid of fear as I was going along, I decided that maybe I should just get into it. And I should get to know myself in this fear place, because that's where I was living most of the time, was in this place of contraction. So I studied how fear affected my way of seeing the world. And when you're in fear, anything is a potential danger. Anybody walking in, I never trusted anybody like me. I was just waiting for them to judge me. I was waiting for them to make some kind of comment that I was too big or too little or too stupid or too something or another. It was just a matter of like, well, let me just get my little clock out and wait and see what's going to happen. These were my projections. This is not the reality that was with me, but this is what I projected onto the reality. Why would I spend so much time projecting these kinds of humiliating feelings onto other people? Because I didn't know any different. And I didn't have a sense that these projections weren't real. So that it's like it got harder as the audience got bigger. At one point, I was for sure that this guy was in the audience, judging me. I had probably 150 people in the room. I talked to him exclusively the whole night to convince him that I really was a good person. It was a little over gradient, but I had no sense of being able to know that I could do any different. So Errol, my goodness, goes out and talks to the man. And he comes back. I said, well, what happened? You know, I'm waiting to hear the big judgment story. He said, well, he thought you were interesting. I was like, he's lying. I mean, you just cling to these perceptions. You cling to them. So if somebody came and said, well, Nancy, are you afraid? No, I'm not afraid. I'm just holding on to these realities and saying this is what is true. So that my fear perceptions became my reality. This is one of those sad but true places, because you know what happens? You never trust love. You never let anybody close to you. You never have a sense that you could really open yourself up to anyone before the other shoe drops. And it's like, and people are people. And Errol and I, it's like, and so then comes the question, it's like, do I, out of my fear, do I draw these projections to me? Choose people who naturally would want to shame me? God, it got complicated. That's all I can tell you. So here I am in a situation where I decide that I need to get to know what fear is and how it operates. I've probably spent my entire life studying fear. that it's like within doing this, what I recognize that fear as an instinct is a very powerful, powerful energetic. So that when I started watching myself go into fear, I noticed that as soon as something triggered me, something signaled me that I was in the danger zone, my system would get incredibly concentrated. I would have the concentration of a 30-mile radius as I had a sense that everything came to center and I became incredibly hypervigilant. All my senses got stronger. All my sensitivities got bigger. And I am like basically searching in the sphere for that point of danger. At some point, I have to come to the sense that if I could find it, I'm either going to run like hell or I'm going to go invisible. My natural state was to go invisible. To walk myself out of invisibility was to acknowledge that the teachings were safe, that the sacred jewels that I had been given in my lifetime, that I had kept very, very close to my heart, were capable of taking care of themselves. And that I didn't have to be in that level of closed, protected place. And so at that point, I had to learn open. Remember open? I had to learn how to open my energy field and allow for just a moment or two that my fear would start softening and my awareness would come forward and I could embrace the sense of what was there. So I wasn't trying to make it one thing or another, but here I am, because again, you can tell I was a woman of extremes, that it's like, I didn't know how to feel safe. So the universe gave me this little exercise. If you walk around feeling kind of unsafe and protected all the time, you might want to use it because it was very handy to me. So it basically brought me into my healing room where I feel very nurtured and taken care of, asked me to come right into the moment. Here you are. Okay. Now, do you feel safe? So I would be quiet. I would listen in. I felt pretty much there's no lions, tigers, or bears. It's like, nobody's going to come in and yell at me. It's like, looks like pretty good. Okay, so you're safe. Yes, I'm safe. And I had to go register. This is what safety feels like. I know this is kindergarten, but I tell you, I had to go through it like this so that it's like, here I am and I'm getting a moment. I'm going, okay, this is what it feels like to be in resting pose. This is what it feels like to feel safe. That what would happen at that point is pretty close to immediately, mine usually 15 to 30 seconds, I start projecting what could happen. And so my mind takes over and starts projecting all the things that could happen to me. And suddenly I'm not safe anymore. That if it went the other way, it started remembering all the bad things that happened to me before. And I lost my safety. So I thought, oh my God, this is serious. The only place I'm going to be safe is in the moment. Because I don't have the wherewithal, I don't have enough experience here to say that I'm going to be safe as in my mind of projection, because my mind was trained as warrior, as protector, as the keeper of the flame that basically burns anything in sight. And it's like, and so that out of that, I had to keep coming back and going, okay, I'm going to have to learn to entrain my body to register safety. And I'm going to have to accept that as soon as I start thinking or projecting, that goes away. That's where I started. I got pretty soon, I could be almost a minute and a half standing in a sense that there really was nothing bad was going to happen to me. And any minute from now was a long time. And it expanded from there. So that if you've been traumatized, if you've gone through the sense where you grew up with a lot of fear and a lot of difficulty, you can know you are well trained in this fear department. You may not even think of it as fear. You might not even consider that you have anything going on. It may have, as I did, normalize it to such a sense that you basically walk around in a very narrow hallway with thinking that that's the norm. What I can tell you from now, in my experience, is it's well worth becoming conscious in this contraction space and being able to get fear conscious and get it on your side. So it's not protecting you from some kind of phantom that lives out there, but is a very strong, clear, energetic influence that assists you if you have anything that's unstable or out of balance. One of the reasons so much fear is on our planet right now is our planet is very, very unstable. And it needs to be. Anytime that a planet goes through extinction, it does get rather unstable, and we are in extinction. So that within that, there is a sense that we have to address the sense that we're on a bit of a rough sea. And you're going to decide for yourself where you're going to plug in. So that I love evolution. I feel the need that we have to keep coming back to the sense of plugging into the heart, learning how to relax, to sense if there is a problem or if there is a danger, and bring us to a new level. I remember when we went through our elections 4 years ago, and I went into a major, major, major depression. And my good friend Sangeet watched me as I was going through this huge depression. He says, oh, these humans, they have such a short memory. He says, you know, we went through this 50 years ago, and it's like, and everybody's kind of like totally forgot. And he just kind of energetically whacked me up on the head and said, get over this. It was very, very useful. It's one of those whacks that you're grateful for. And it was like an out of that sense of get over it. What it meant was for me to be able to recognize that what he said was true. He said, the only way out on our planet right now is a shift in consciousness. And this, we've got to raise our energy at least 40% on this planet for this to happen. The part that I have felt so grateful for in these last days is I've seen more compassion, more understanding, more warmth, and more love on this planet than I've seen for a while. And this level of compassion and understanding that even embraces people who have been very enslaved and are violently trapped in their fear, that there's a level of warmth and connection that we can come to and say, we understand. We may not approve of your behavior and how you're acting it out, but we do understand an underlying cause of why you are where you are now. This depth of compassion, this waking up so that we stand in grounded presence and realize that our consciousness counts. Remember, your fear keeps you invisible. That means you don't vote. Your presence votes for you energetically. And that's what our work is here for us now, is to allow this deeper space of connection inside. So let's do a little meditation. Take a nice big breath. Thank you for listening. Told you I had a lot to say. Here we go, nice big breath. So we're just going to do a little check-in, okay? So that it's like we know that fear contracts. It narrows our awareness and our attention. It brings us to a very concentrated center. You can sense that. Fear contracts. Love expands. Love expands. Feel that. This natural motion of expansion and contraction feeds our awareness. So we're becoming conscious, aware of what it feels like to be expanded, to be open and grounded. that what we would call fear, this contraction, will bring us back to center a bit. So it keeps us more focused. It's an act of concentration. Allows us to be very aware of the sounds in the room. Now we're open. And let's call for a safety field, whatever that is for you. We've spent some time, you've explored it through me, now let's explore it through you. Let's get a sense of what it feels like to be safe and feel safe in your body. So for me, because I recognize energetic fields, I simply call for a safety field and watch how my elements align in that consciousness. Safety and safety field. So we notice in the safety field we're grounded. We're aware of a larger presence. There's a stabilizing force that allows things to make sense, to become clear. Safety field. When you're in your safety field, grounded and dynamic, it will start to generate into your environment. And other people will feel safe around you. The sense of safety comes not because there's no problem or anything out of balance. It becomes from your awareness of what's going on. And like an act of nature, your body knows what to do. We're just touching into that instinct that all nature has. Find it in your body. This instinct that all nature has that will cue you what to do in any kind of change or shift. Our work ahead is for you to feel totally trustworthy within this instinct and this connection. Enough to follow it without even thinking. So when I get the urge to head up the hill, I'm on my way before any tsunami warning is touching my ears. Take a nice deep breath. So here we're not divining and creating safety by staying in a little invisible bubble like I was born into. We're staying safe because we are aware and conscious and trust our bodies to know what it is that is right and good for us. Nice big breath. Placing now a golden circle of light around your sleeping space. Golden circle of light. Placing within this golden circle the power of your energized safety field. We acknowledge that consciousness comes often before our recognition of it, so that it's here well before we are able to go, oh, here it is. So we're going to trust our bodies that our body knows this already. And feel this deep sense of connection as we rest, as we sleep. Take a nice deep breath. Feel the strength of the safety field. It's more a matter of getting used to it and to recognize much deeper forces of intelligence operate here than just your thinking mind. Nice big breath. Now let it expand. We'll do it in our sleep, but you'll do it when you wake up as well. Allow this feeling of safety to expand through your environment, into your neighborhood. It's a space of stability and warmth, natural human connection and intelligence. It gives us a strength of leadership should we be in a situation that needs direction. It's based on trust. Trust within your presence. Nice big breath. And now connect into your heart space. And feel all the points of the star, the six-pointed star, the power of compassion, truth, grounding into acceptance, love, opening the deep receptive, expressing gratitude, all deeply anchoring into your presence. That our work here in this next season, from now through December, is going to be building this sense of presence and using parts of our nature that have been invisible, parts of us that may have been anchored and buried in our fears or in parts of our nature we had no permission for, wherever it is, they're going to be coming forward. What is our relationship to our presence? And can we celebrate? Can we celebrate we're here? One of the gifts of fear is awareness. We actually are just plugging into this life force from a new center. You're already there in many ways. The key now is getting used to it. The energetic has happened. Now you have to naturalize it, you have to make it your own. Nice big breath. And let's open to gratitude that we can use these powers for our evolution. That's what they were meant for in the first place, was this strength of evolution. So we're just going to do it consciously. So the thing that is important for us to know when we're studying consciousness, especially as we come into the heart, is that there's no right or wrong, good or bad. Fear is not right or wrong. It just simply is. We accept it as a power, a very, very powerful energy, just as we accept anger, love, grace, goodness, levels of consciousness, depth of connections. That we're being asked to build our presence, and build our presence we shall do. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mwah. See, my deal is we should have fun with it. That's where I come in. Can't take anything too seriously. So we're going to continue this next week. We're going to talk more around the sense of influences and energetics in light and shadow, and just keep developing this as it unfolds. So I hope you can join us. And again, if you're called to be and work deeper in the workshop or in the class, listen to your heart. It'll know what's right for you. Okay. Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha, Nancy. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good. It's fun to see.
Happy birthday, Sengi!
Happy birthday.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Almost happy birthday to Shirley. Yes, it's coming soon.
Very soon.
All right. Aloha. No, we're with you. We appreciate you immensely.
Yes.
See you next week. Aloha.
Aloha.